Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we're on the Spice Dunes playing as the Tomb Kings against the forces of the Dark Elves. And I know it was requested recently that I do a video of Tomb Kings against Dwarves. I'm still trying to get a good match against the Dwarves. The only game I've even gotten where a player chose Dwarves. The build was either auto-gen or very, very weak. The end result was that it wasn't much of a match to cast, so unfortunately we're still looking to get a good game in against the Dawi. But this was a pretty fun game here, and I think this is a matchup where I really do love to do a mass skeleton archer composition with the Tomb Kings, because you can just get such ridiculous results and have so much fun with it. So for my lord, I'm bringing in a Tomb King mounted on a War Sphinx. He is, of course, well, he's pretty kitted out. He does have My Will Be Done, which is a great AoE buff, and of course will affect supporting troops like this Tomb Prince. He does also have the Tomb Strike, which can make him a slightly more competitive lord in melee against a Malekith on a dragon if he gets into a duel, a monster fight. We do have the Amulet of Fasta, which is really the main reason to bring this guy, because it allows you to debuff enemy shield block chance, and that means units like Dark Shards will get completely melted by overwhelming skeleton archer fire. We also do have the Curse, which will be doing some AoE damage if it comes to it. Alongside him, we do have a Tomb Prince who is here to provide additional support. He does have the Blade of Setep, which is a minus 30 armor, minus 22% physical resist debuff. So you've got a whole, we're going for a bunch of armor debuffs because we really want to make these archers work. Outside of that, he does still have the Tomb Strike for Fear and Terror. He does have the Curse of Jaff, and he does have Guardian, so he'll potentially be buffing up our Tomb King here. Finally, we do have a Lich Priest of Death who does have Fate of Buna, which I think can be good against certain Dark Elf units. He does have Soul Blight, and he does have Spirit Leech to sap away at the life of, say, Malekith over there. Finally, he does have the Nephero Scrolls of Mighty Incantations and the Curse of Zar, so more armor sundering potential. If he drops below 50%, he'll be able to drop enemy armor by 60, and of course, Soul Blight is minus 30 armor. So all in all, some pretty crazy debuffs. The front line here is 2 units of Tomb Guard flanking the Kepler Guard here in the center, so potentially a lot of melee prowess here. Obviously, they're not going to win out against something like Hargoneth Executioners or Blackguard or Sister's Slaughter, but they will be able to stall them for a very long time and buy me the time I need to get value out of these archers. Furthermore, we do have some Skeleton Spears on the flanks, a single unit of Skeleton Warriors because I ran out of money, and then more Skeleton Spears covering the peripheries. Blessed Legion of Demonetization in the center, 2 Skeleton Archers on either end. These guys, of course, will be providing armor sundering. So potentially we have 3 different abilities and then the armor sundering effect, all to drop enemy armor. I guess actually 4 if we count the Curse of Zar on the caster. For my opponent, he did decide to go with Malekith up in the sky. He does have actually only 1 spell by the look of it. He's got Soul Stealer, then he does have Power of Darkness, which not that good in my opinion. Stand Your Ground, he has Malice, and of course then he's got a Breath Attack because he's on a dragon. Alongside him we do have the Harvester of Slanesh, potentially an absolutely terrifying unit. If they get in on my archers, they'll melt them in seconds. They're very, very potent against squishy infantry. Frontline mix of Blackguard as well as Hargoneth Executioners. A single unit of Witch Elves on one flank, the Sister's Slaughter over here, 2 units of Dread Spears covering the peripheries, and then 2 Dark Shards with shields, most likely to help against big, heavily armored monsters like the Tomb Kings, like our Tomb King here on the War Sphinx. Now, unfortunately for my opponent, though, he is immediately going to get his Hargoneth Executioners focused down very heavily. You can see Curses, Blade of Septep going down. So immediately look at this. These guys, 40 armor because of the armor sundering effect, and minus 22% physical resist. So these guys are just getting completely melted by that archery fire round. My opponent does get a gorgeous flank shot there with his with a breath attack, but too late for these Hargoneth Executioners. They are going to get completely melted. They're down to in the pits here. The income the Kepler Guard, and they're going to be able to dice them and completely destroy these guys. So the Hargoneth Executioners are almost immediately off the field, just completely dumpstered. In the meantime, my opponent, though, does manage to sneak through because I wasn't paying attention, so he's able to get in the Slanesh's Harvesters and just look at how brutally these Skeleton Archers get put down. It's actually some terrifying stuff. That said, we are able to get our Tomb King over here, as well as our Tomb Prince pushing in against Malekith and starting to shut him down. Now in comes the Arrow Fire. Of course, his armor is being sundered, is down to 50. If we look at this, the stats for Malekith here, you can see he's only got 50 armor now. He does have 35%, or actually 55 or 45% missile resist between the physical and the missile resist, but still, he's going to be taking damage from this onslaught of archery. We do hit him with a Soul Blight and a Spirit Leech, so he's just getting completely dumpstered. 20 armor is basically meaningless, and with the Tomb Prince in there, as well as the Tomb King just whomping on him, he's having a horrible time, and he's forced to reconsider his life decisions and flee. In the meantime, the Dark Shards are unloading on the Tomb Guard, but that's really not what they want to be doing, and you can see Malekith here is forced to rout. He's going to flee, and that is going to mean that this front line is suddenly very exposed to my ability to just pound them and shoot them into dust. Now over here, the Slaash Harvesters did completely crush those archers, but in the meantime, we are able to free up our Prince as well as our Tomb King and pursue them. So despite a Word of Pain going down from the Slaash Harvesters, we are going to be able to force them away and protect the remainder of our Archery's core. So we do still have quite a few units of Skeleton Archers. You can see that unit that actually got dumpstered by the Breath did recover. And now, although the Tomb Guard here is finally being taken apart by the Witch Elves as well as the Blackguard, we are able to start unloading on them and really taking them to task. Elsewhere, the Kepler Guard here pushing in against the Blackguard, and with a little bit of help from just mass fire, we were able to remove these Dark Shards from place. So they're fleeing over here. The shop, they're tearing up these Dark Shards, and the Blackguard over here will probably lose to the Kepler Guard. It's going to be a tight fight. I'm not entirely sure who wins out, especially with an awkward engagement like this one, but I do believe the Blackguard will eventually get torn apart. Elsewhere, in the meantime, we do still have reserves. Keep in mind, if we look here, you can see there's Sister of Slaughter as well as Dread Spears engaging on the single unit of Spearmen. Now, once these guys go away, we are going to be able to push in more reserves and just completely stall this flank out. There's still a decent amount of ammo. You can see 11, 11, 9, and 11 rounds of ammo on our archers, so we're able to just pound these Witch Elves and these Blackguard to death. They are trying to get through these Spearmen, but we just have so many reserves, so much trash to stall. And look at the Witch Elves just falling apart. They really aren't built to sustain that fire. Blackguard, they don't have shields, so they're also going to start falling apart. And you can see it's a complete rout for the Dark Elf forces. The last fight sort of going down over here. You can see Malekith diving in, trying to help his buddies, the Slaash Harvesters here against the Tomb King and the Tomb Prince. But really, it's not going to cut the musters. We do hit him with the Spirit Leech. We're able to just stomp down on him and really lay down the law on old Malekith here. So he's having a horrible time. He gets hit again. The Tomb King's just doing so much damage. He's not a pushover in melee. Now, obviously, the War Sphinx not as good of a duelist as most other monstrous mounts, really. It's kind of like a mammoth tier, except maybe worse, but it is able to take Malekith down there. And at this point, my opponent is forced to GG out. So, a fun battle that I think demonstrates the value of Skeleton Archers when utilized with a lot of debuffs. Now, obviously, this build is built around supporting them, but there are essentially no units that are useless except for the debuff in this composition, which is nice. Now, obviously, we are bringing the Tomb Prince to get the Blade of Satep, which is a great debuff. But at the same time, the Tomb Prince is a great anti-large hero. He was able to really lay the smackdown on Malekith and also run down the Slaash Harvesters. It forced them to back off. The Tomb King, obviously meant there for the debuff, but also providing the great staying power. He's got that high mass. He's got providing fear, terror, an AoE buff. Able to just roam around and cause immense amounts of AP damage. And finally, the Lich Priest of Death. Yeah, it's Soul Blight, but you know, you've still got Spirit Leech, you've still got Fate of Buna, both very powerful spells. So he's still providing you with a very solid amount of support if your opponent happens to not bring good targets from Mass Archery. Otherwise, for the front line here, Skeleton Spears obviously did basically nothing. The Tomb Guard actually didn't do all that well either. They kind of got overrun by the Blackguard and the... I don't think the Sister of Slaughter actually got in on them, but the Witch Elves and the Tomb Guard especially diced them up. The Kepler Guard did alright. They did manage to sort of chew up some of those Blackguard, especially with the archery support. But really, the MVPs were just the archers there. Completely annihilated the Hargoneth Executioners, forced off one unit of Dark Shards, completely dumpstered Malekith, and then helped mulch both the Blackguard as well as the Witch Elves in the endgame. So just such a potent unit when used correctly. I do think they might be a smidge overpriced, but with this sort of combo of constant armor sundering effects, they're so very potent. You can basically use them in almost any matchup and get great value out of the Skeleton Archers. I really do love them. I think they're a great unit. Regardless, for my opponent's build, I think my main critique here would be the lack of backline harass. He only really had the Slaash Harvesters as well as Malekith. Now, obviously, I didn't bring Shop the Grapos or anything to properly zone away Malekith on a dragon if he just wants to step in the sky. But for the rest of his build here, it's all sort of mash the front line oriented. The Dark Shards actually can get outranged by the archers, and especially if I drop a Amulet of Fast on them, their shields are basically worthless. So, while I do get what the Dark Shards are good against, say, monsters, I do think you want more backline harass if you're playing as the Tomb Kings, or as the Dark Elves, sorry. So, I'd probably ditch the Hargoneth Executioners, honestly. Perhaps I'd even ditch all of this front line, try to get this heavy-duty front line, maybe just bring like 2 Sisters of Slaughter, a bunch of Chaff Troops, and then try to bring either more Dark Riders or another unit of Doomfire Warlocks or something along those lines. And I think he'll be much better served. But regardless, well played to my opponent Gomez here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. I'm still trying to get that good Dowie matchup to demonstrate to you guys. Hopefully, hoping to get one eventually. But Until then, this will have to tide you guys over. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, as usual, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, don't hesitate to post them. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.